You settling in there in your thriller tent?
Shut up.
There'll be some corpse coming out from like the underneath you. Look at all the smoke. All right, now I could cough freely over here.
Yeah, you can.
Where do I even start? I don't even know how to even like talk about this episode, really.
Just welcome everybody and go from there.
I'm still quite symptomatic from COVID. Oddly, I'm having these like episodes of like coughing fits now, but I didn't have the coughing the first 10 days of like being sick, so it's a little strange. Okay, sorry for being a little symptomatic. I'll do my best to kind of suppress as much as I can. All right, so today we're going to be talking about mind war. And now that I finally got the title correct in my head, I think I could talk about it more accurately, maybe. So it's not mind wars. It's not more than one war. It's just mind war. So the first time I watched this episode 10 years ago, it went right over my head. I didn't know what it was talking about. I didn't know how to pick out like anything meaningful out of the episode. It just was so I don't know, I just couldn't make anything out of it at the time. This time around I watched it, and just from the title alone, Mind War, I kind of really related it to my own experiences and my own journey through, like, while traversing my life and thinking about a lot of things. So this episode, I kind of felt like it was a reflection of the person I used to be, the person I am now, and the person I am working towards becoming. I have an image in my head of the kind of person I want to be. I still have a long ways to go for me to get to that place. So it was very interesting to have seen it that way. So I took this episode as a whole, and a lot of the different characters that were in there were basically reflections of myself either at a place that I was in my life or where I am now, and then moving forward to where I want to be in the future. Cut this out. I'm sorry for my coughing fits. I took some meds, but I took it a little too late. A little sip of green tea. Moringa green tea. More advertisements. Free advertisements. Okay. I'll start off from me in the past. So Catherine Sakai in this episode really reminded me of the person I used to be in the past. And I'm still, in some ways, a kind of like her in this episode. I would say only because I just haven't really reached my, the potential of where I want to be yet. So, Catherine, okay. She, in this episode, I found to be I know that she kind of like had to represent, or she was trying to represent someone who was like very dominant, assertive, independent, a go-getter, very driven, motivated. And I mean, she was even really willing to go off into the galaxy by herself, to Sigma 957, and explore it and do whatever on her own. And when Jakar came over and told her about the dangers of Sigma 957, she completely dismissed it, and in turn even said something really demeaning and said, well, it's probably you. It's because the Narns didn't even have resources to go explore that you're the one stopping me from going there.
No, whether you believe it or not, I'm doing this for your own safety. Sigma 957 is not a healthy place. Strange things happen there.
It's uninhabited. There's no sentient life to threaten anyone.
Nonetheless, it is not safe. I have passed through that sector. Take my word. Look elsewhere.
I think you want Sigma 957 for yourself. The Narn government doesn't have the resources to exploit a world that far away. But you want to hold on to it anyway, out of sheer spite.
Considering what you were probably told about me, I'm sure you do believe that. Despite your long acquaintance with Sinclair, you're new here, aren't you? Let me pass on to you the one thing I've learned about this place. No one here is exactly what he appears.
She shows this absolute defiance. And asserts all of this independence and free will. I could say that that was certainly me in the past, and there are still many parts of me that's there now. The problem I had with this, though, is that here's G'Kar giving her this warning that this place is a very dangerous place to be. And instead of questioning it or looking into it, exploring the possibilities of threat, she completely dismissed his warning and took it upon herself to really just think that it was something else, that it was his jealousy, basically. I don't find that to be strong and independent and assertive. I find that to be very foolish. I think in life what I've learned, I know what I've learned, is that what I've learned is this. When people used to give me warnings in the past, I was that stubborn and I was that adamant about doing things my way. What I've learned along the way is that when people do give you these tidbits of warnings and a heads up for things that to come that may not be as favorable, that you use wisdom to look into it. You question it. You ask yourself, is the threat legitimate? Are the consequences real? Are they possibilities? And I think with wisdom, or even just the curiosity of looking into someone's opinions, is very important in being independent and free-willed and strong and assertive and dominant. I think all those things are in combination what makes a person wise and allows them to make better choices. So the Catherine I saw in this episode, the petty Catherine who in her spaceship, as she's melting away in whatever degrees, 100,000 degree temperature, she's making fun of G'Kar. Sigma 957 is a dangerous place to be, or whatever she says, right? She even goes as far as to mock him while on her journey to her impending doom. So I laughed. I laughed at that. I laughed at her foolishness. And also felt embarrassed even for myself. I'm watching her and I felt embarrassed. Because it's oh my God, these were... she was how I was, or, I was how she is in this episode. And it's oh my God, this is terrible. So this is how I look. This is how foolish I looked in front of other people. When someone try to give me good advice. How foolish was I? How embarrassing is this? And then for her to come back and be yeah, thanks for saving me. I almost got fried out there, So, yeah, looking at her, I went through a lot of these different emotions. I felt embarrassed. I felt foolish. I felt I learned something from my past. And I'm hoping that going forward that I wouldn't be as stubborn. I'm really hoping. I'm gonna have to really kind of come back to this scene and remind myself of like how that looks. The title in and of itself really made me think about the struggles I have with in my own head. And I'm sure that this is something that a lot of other people can relate to as well. When Jason showed up on the ship and his character was talking about like just in the process of becoming, I took that as the process of ascending, becoming into something greater than even he even imagined he could be. And the journey for him to go there, to get to that place, I mean, obviously this, you know, he went through experiments and injections and everything. But I saw it as a metaphor. The whole episode was a metaphor for me. I saw it as a metaphor that as he was struggling to control his mind, it was very symbolic of like the struggles that I've gone through, and I still go through as being human. The things that are in my own one head. I only have one head. The things that are going through my own head, the anxieties, the worries, you know, the episodes of feeling depressed at times or wondering what your purpose is in life, what meaning your life has. And that is what I saw as a mind war. And when those things become so loud in your head, it was like a perfect way to say that those were mind quakes, really. When you're losing sleep because your mind just races. When you're trying to focus on something and your mind wanders and it's thinking about the 20 million things that you should be doing. You say to yourself that you should be doing, or you must be doing, or you must be feeling, or you could have, should have done. Those definitely feel like mind quakes. And I thought that that was a really nice phrase to capture what that would feel like. And even how he like quivers and shakes and feels like he loses all control physically. I mean, he struggled to even like walk down the corridor. That's what it feels like, doesn't it? Yeah, sometimes I think it's really that incapacitating when you go through those struggles. So but then, so these struggles though, he shows, and he's on this journey though to becoming. And that was another reminder of the things that like I need to put effort into to become. For a long time, I know that I've been complacent. And I think because I've been, you know, partly with the excuse of not feeling so well, like putting effort into things became just so effortful that it's kept me at a place of complacency. I'll just go to my 9-to-5 job and do the work that I do that I know how to do because I've been there for nearly 7 years. So I'm proficient at it. And come home and just go about my regular routine of, you know, making myself something to eat and gaming and watching TV and K-dramas, whatever it is. And I've gone through that routine for quite a long time. I mean, with the past couple of years, I spent also studying in between. So I can't really say that that was complete complacency, but there was a routine in that though. So when I reflect back on that time and even how I am now, I mean, this this project right now has given me a lot of meaning and purpose, though. It's changed me a little bit. But even before doing this, I felt complacent. And any idea and thought and of putting any effort into anything just was so overwhelming. So Jason's character, as I'm like looking at him, struggling through all of that and becoming even greater than he himself even thought it was possible. And he put effort into it. And he continues to put effort into controlling his mind and controlling his powers. And I saw that as being synonymous as putting effort into becoming a better person, evolving yourself, so then I can become whatever it is that I may become. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, that like I have an idea of the kind of person I want to be in my head. And I lost sight of that for quite some time because I didn't want to put the effort in. It was too hard. But here's Jason struggling, and I don't think that he complained. I think it was just all about like making sure everyone else was safe while he was fascinated by where he was going and what he was feeling now and where he was going. And it's very similar to what I'm experiencing now. Every Saturday I look forward to doing these videos, which is something that I never felt before. Before it was a chore, before it was hard, before it was tedious, before I felt like I didn't have anything to say. Before I thought it was just before I didn't really have much of an opinion, I don't think. I didn't have really much going around in my head to even offer anything and make those connections. When I look back on that, I feel like I've definitely grown the past 10 years. So I feel like even now is a better time for me to be doing this project. So Jason, yes, I'm with you right there. I'm working towards becoming. And maybe I'll also see Sinclair in a million years. I don't really know what that means, but I think, though, if we connect this to the other episodes that we watched, and we think about like the reincarnation, maybe I'll see Sinclair in a million years after I'm reincarnated with more greatness and more positive energy. We'll see. I can't really, my mind is really not focused. Am I coherent?
Yeah, I think you are. I'm gonna have to swap some things around as far as editing, but I like everything you said makes sense.
I feel really, this isn't like how I wanted to present it, because like anytime I rehearse something in my head, it goes a little bit.
Why are you rehearsing in your head? Just do it.
Well, which is why I do most of the processing like in front of the camera.
Yeah.
I can't really, when I do something in my head, it's always, the first time around is always better than when I do it later on, which is why I don't do it, because then it just like loses its genuineness too. But like, I don't know, I think I spent a little, and just trying to come up with things to say.
I think you're doing fine.
Okay.
It makes sense. That was pretty coherent. I mean, I feel like, well, I mean,
it feels a little out of order because I'm gonna start talking about other things.
Okay. I mean, I will, edit things.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, okay, that needs to go there, that needs to go there, whatever.
I actually still, I feel like I definitely still have COVID brain.
You were better last week.
I think this past week I've been more, this has been my energy all week. This has been my speed all week.
This might be the long COVID thing, where you're not quite recovering fully,
Yeah, and
that would suck.
Yeah, that would suck. I mean, oddly though, COVID's making me more mellow.
Of course it is, because it's sapping all the energy out of you.
But it's strange because I don't feel like really fatigued. I just feel really like mellow and chilled out, right? Which is why I couldn't even like fight with you. That fight that we had didn't even last. So Talia had this conversation with Sinclair in that thing. Ski lift. Enclosed ski lift. What is that thing called?
The tram?
Okay, the tram.
Yeah, it's a tram.
My English is good. Okay. So, yeah, she had this really profound conversation with Sinclair in the tram. And she tells him that she and Jason were lovers. And the line she says, like again, all this is very metaphoric for me.
What's between you and Jason? Why did he come here?
To see me. We were lovers. He was everything to me. The perfect model of what it meant to be in the Corps. Do you know what it's like when telepaths make love, Commander? You drop every defense, and it's all mirrors reflecting each other's feelings. Deeper and deeper. Until somewhere along the line your souls mix. And it's a feeling so profound it makes you hurt. It's the only moment in a telepath's life when you no longer hear the voices. He came to say goodbye, Commander. He came to say goodbye.
This was symbolic to a few times in my life where I felt something very similar. And it was during my own personal journey of self-discovery and finding peace that I've had these kind of very profound moments. And in each of these moments, there was real depth within my soul that I was searching and working through and finding meaning and purpose in my life for. And the more I searched deeper and deeper within myself, I did see mirrors reflected at me, but they were all images of me in the raw, nude, just staring back. And I'm watching myself, and I'm looking at the different things that I am. The person that I am, the personality that I had, the qualities that I had, the things I didn't like about me as well as the things I liked. I saw all those things reflected at me when I was very honest and raw with myself during those times. And it was very hard. It was very difficult, but at the same time, satisfying, that for the first time you could see yourself without all the defenses up. You could allow yourself to see. I was able to allow myself to see myself the way I am, to really be able to acknowledge the things about myself that weren't so great, that I may have covered up and justified, ignored, or given excuses to even like the things about myself that were really good qualities, but that I minimized and didn't give myself enough credit for. That one time, which was many years ago, when I really worked towards a lot of self-discovery and examining my feelings and my behaviors, when I came out of that was the first time I felt like I saw color really richly. I remember going to the mall, and I walked into a store And this store had a lot of their clothing line on display under the lights. And I've seen it before. But that one time around when I went, it was so rich. The colors were so rich. And I felt like I had just clarity. And I was just walking around, and my mind felt really clear, and I felt at peace. And I can't really describe that in words. It just felt so serene. And that nothing else really mattered. That wasn't as, the things that were really petty and not important didn't really matter at that time to me. I just kept seeing the bigger picture. I think it was shortly after that when I got really sick. I started to become sick, and then I got really sick. And then I kind of lost sight of those things because my focus was elsewhere. So years drifted. And then it was a couple of years ago where I started coming out of an episode of like really feeling depressed, and I just allowed myself to be. And again, that was a time where I felt like I wanted to be honest with myself again, and those mirrors came back up, and I reminded myself of all these things that I was again, and saw myself in the, like, very raw and genuinely. So what Talia said, what Talia said rang very real. That when you take down your defenses and when you're able to see yourself clearly, you allow yourself to put all your defenses down. You can experience something much more deeper with yourself. And you know, that's when the voices do quiet down. The anxieties that ring in your head, the voices that tell you that you're not good enough, or maybe you're not doing enough. It calmed down. It calmed down for me. So that was really quite profound for me. And then she ends it by saying, he came to say goodbye. You know, when you find peace, you say goodbye to a lot of things. So Jason said a line when he was confronted by the P12 Psychor, both Kelsey and Bester. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there was any specific one, but I know that when he was, it might have been when Kelsey, it might have been actually when Kelsey held up the gun to him.
Oh, yeah.
He says, you cannot harm me. You cannot harm one who has dreamed a dream like mine. Mm-hmm. What a beautiful line that was.
Please, no. Don't make me do this. You cannot harm me. You cannot harm one who has dreamed a dream like mine.
The number of times where I've heard people say, people have told me that they can't follow their dreams, or they had a dream that they couldn't fulfill. And even my own thought, where I thought to myself, in my school years, you know, wow, can I actually go and get a graduate school degree? Can I go get a master's degree? Can I actually go on and get a doctorate degree? Am I really going to be able to write a dissertation? Thanks, Elaine, for helping with this dissertation by practically writing it. For setting the foundation for writing this dissertation when I was extremely burnt out and barely had any life energy and mana left in me. Many people, including myself, go through questioning whether or not we can even reach our dreams. A lot of people don't even have dreams, and then there are a lot of people who do have dreams, and then those people who say that they had dreams but they weren't able to fulfill it and reach it. And then some people who are put down because they didn't have people who believed in them, so then they let it go. They put it aside, they abandoned it. And then there are some people whose dreams were diminished because they didn't feel like they had the confidence to do it. They didn't feel they were good enough, smart enough, worthy enough. So the line was so profound, right? When he says, "You cannot harm me. You cannot harm one who has dreamed a dream like mine." Dreams are life energy. It gives you purpose. It gives you meaning. It gives you a place to go. It gives you something greater than what... No, it gives you something really great. And like if people had a dream... No, I can't formulate this in my head. Let me just take time out. I know that this isn't really sounding very coherent. What do I want to say? His line was so profound because it sounds invincible. That's simply having a dream and having felt it and imagined it in his head, or just he knows about it. It makes you feel invincible because you have a greater purpose in your life to achieve. And with that said, like, it almost felt like nothing should crumble it down. Like nothing could be that big enough to tear it down. Or at least it shouldn't. Although it's really hard. But I found his statement to be very hopeful and very... I don't know what the word is. It was hopeful, and it was just unbreakable. Encouraging and supportive. That if you have a dream, you can't really be stopped. Just keep going forward. It's not about those limitations that other people have created for you in your life. It's not about the limitations that you created of yourself in your head. It's about continuing to move forward with dedication and drive and motivation because you see something that you want to achieve. You know, like, I didn't really think that I was ever going to get a doctorate degree at all. And then like the idea of being licensed was so... Passing my boards was so... It felt so far from what I thought I could achieve, considering where I even came from. But it wasn't really about how smart I was or wasn't smart. It just really was about perseverance in the end. And like your favorite quote, the Japanese quote, "You fall 7, you rise 8. It really was perseverance in the end, as long as you held on to something that you wanted to achieve. And that made all the difference. For me, it did, at least. You know, I'm not really doing it any justice because I can't really put into words the feeling I'm getting from it. I can't really put into words the feeling I got when I heard Jason say it.
I think you're doing a perfectly good job.
It feels like there's so much more to it that like I just, when I heard it, it really like, I really felt it deeply within. I don't know. I'm definitely getting emotional for some reason. I'm not really quite sure what that is though either.
I would like that to be explored. Why are you crying?
You cannot harm me. You cannot harm one who has dreamed a dream like mine. There's a sadness to it too, considering I know that I've gotten as far as I really ever imagined in my life to have gone. There's no way, like given, my background and the challenges and struggles that I've had in my life, that I would have gotten to this place. And it's interesting because, I don't know what my dream was. I don't even know if I ever had a dream. Like nothing that like, it wasn't as if I was a child and was like, oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be a clinical psychologist. When I grow up, I'm going to be called doctor. I didn't even know what a clinical psychologist was. Honestly, I didn't even know while I was in the master's program. It was such a vague concept for me. And so, as I as I'd gone through my life, I think it was just a continual modification of where I was. I got to college and I went down my list of all my majors, and there wasn't anything on there that I felt particularly interested in. And back then, like there was really no guidance I had. It's not like you had a plethora of information and you were like, oh, okay, well, this major can lead to this career and this major could lead to this career. And had I known, I probably would have gone a different angle. Although I don't know what that would have been, because I've been in this study for so long. So I just majored in it. I took a psychology course in college, and that was the only advanced placement course that I took, and I did fairly well. And I stuck with it. Then I got into a master's program, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if I'll be okay with this. And I was, surprisingly. And then I applied for the doctorate program, and I thought to myself, will I be able to actually complete this? The struggle was real. But I actually eventually was able to. And it wasn't like I started off by saying, this is my dream. It was just a day at a time. Let's see if I could persevere and through this and like get it done. And then I started having images in my head of what I wanted my future to look like. In my mind, I wanted a stability. In my mind, I wanted to be able to help out my parents financially. In my mind, I wanted nice things. But then I got complacent. So I think
complacent, or did you get sick?
I got sick. And then the sickness just sort of led me to complacency. But like the really being sick kept me from wanting to exert any more effort, because there's only so many spoons I had in my drawer. When I got sick, and when, feeling sick lasted years, the images of my future that I once had, they began to diminish. And that's probably why this line makes me very sad. Because had I not gotten sick, I could have been much further along and at a place that I would have wanted to be. You know what really sucks?
What?
I'm in my 40s. I just get licensed. And, you know, you can't help but like think back on like, I can't help but think back on my 30s and be like, damn, I could have done so much in my 30s. I could have accomplished a hell of a lot more in my 30s.
If it weren't for what?
Huh?
If not for what?
If not for being ill.
Oh.
If not for being ill. And then when I started feeling better, that's when I got complacent.
Yes.
So I didn't take advantage of that time either. And that, I mean, that's a few years, at least 2 really solid good years where I could have done something meaningful, but I just, as I start to feel better, I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to experience feeling a little bit better. Although ironically, that's also when I like became ill in a different way. So I was very sick in the beginning without a diagnosis with all these problems. And then I started feeling better. And then I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder. Ironically, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you know, I dreamed a dream, but the light died out as my body gave up on me. And that makes me very sad. And then I feel really sad about the part where I started to feel a little better and I spent that energy on the wrong things. And then I slowly pulled myself together and started studying. And now here we are. And here we are, and I think it's time for me to dream again. I think it's okay for me to dream again.
How is that a prayer against one's enemies? How would you interpret that line as a prayer against one's enemies? Why would that be powerful to use against an enemy?
Because as long as you have a dream, you're immortal. As long as you have a dream and you know you decide that you are going to persevere and put your effort forth and be committed to it, there's nothing and no one who could take that from you. I think as long as you have a dream, you are immortal. And as long as you don't allow anyone to take that away from you. And especially if you don't allow yourself to take it away from you. Dreams are beautiful. I'm gonna start dreaming again. Let's see how far I'll go. Let's see where I'll end up and where my journey takes me. I certainly don't want to stay being Catherine Sakai in that spaceship, melting away from stubbornness, and once again being the damsel in distress, having someone come and save her.
Which
That's
is the opposite of the kind of woman she wants to be.
Right. I don't want to be a damsel in distress, and I haven't been for a long time. But I certainly am going to use more wisdom so I'm not in these situations where I'm making decisions with negative consequences. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is Jakar. Oh my God. Jakar has come a very long way from the ambassador that blew up Ragish 3 and killed innocent people, to now saying something so profound to Catherine. And even saving her life without anything in return. He saves his life, her life. He knew she went to Sigma 957 despite his warning. So then he just decided to, hire some request. He didn't hire. He requested some Narn military units to go on a saving mission. I don't know, what is that called?
Rescue?
On a rescue mission.
He did that literally right after he talked to her. He knew she was going to go.
Yeah. He did, because, he saw her attitude. And he just did it. There's still a part of me, this is where I feel like really embarrassed to admit this. There's still a part of me that's like, oh, okay, fine. If you don't want to listen to reason, right? Well, then just go ahead and go do your thing and you suffer the consequences. Although she won't be coming back to be like, oh, I told you so.
No,
that was a one-way trip.
Yeah.
But he did it. He just decided to send out the rescue mission ships and save her life. She comes back and she says, well, why'd you do it? Well, first of all, if he didn't do it, it would be really morally wrong. But it was his attitude. He was just simply saying, well, why not? No matter what race you are, you would do it because it seemed like a good idea. And I like how casually he puts it, even though he basically saved her life. He casually puts that, which gives it even more depth to it, in my opinion, right? It's like, well, it just seemed like a good idea. Why not? The fact that he minimizes something something that so many other people could really just take so pettily, to, oh my God, to be so insignificant, right? Wait, did that make sense? I don't know if that made sense. He was so casual about it, but in turn that gave it a lot of depth, because he wasn't trying to earn anything from it. He wasn't trying to gain anything from it. He just simply did it because it was a good idea. He did it because he was really truly saving her life.
Hi, I'm pleased to see that you have returned safely from your expedition.
Yes, thanks to you. Just one question. Why?
Why not?
That's not an answer.
Oh, yes, it is. It's simply not an answer you like or the answer you expected. There's a difference. Narns, humans, Centauri, we all do what we do for the same reason. Because it seemed like a good idea at the time. There was no profit, no advantage in letting you fall to an untimely and most uncomfortable death. It would distress the commander to no good effect. So, once again, we return to why not? I told you before you left, no one here is entirely what they appear. If I surprised you, all the better. Good day, Miss Sakai.
He even thought how far this would go.
Right.
And that if the commander lost Catherine, he'd be devastated. And if Commander Sinclair was devastated, how would Babylon 5 operate? It'd probably most likely fall apart.
That's a lot of levels of consideration.
It's a lot of levels of consideration. It's a lot of levels of realizing that one outcome can have a chain reaction to a lot of different consequences. And he recognized that. So Jakar, thank you. I will work towards being less petty and not blowing up Ragish 3 anymore. And saving other people's lives for no reason. Or maybe for many different great reasons. Thank you, Jakar. I'm going to thank Jakar one more time again, with his final monologue. His absolutely beautiful final monologue. The monologue that I had no clue what meaning it had to me some 10 years ago when I first heard it. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what the hell he was talking about. I thought it was simply about an ant. I don't even know if I thought it that far through at the time. And yet this was again another metaphor for me. It was very symbolic for me regarding my own personal journey and where I want to be in life and where I want to see myself some year from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now.
While I was out there, I saw something. What was it?
What is this?
An ant.
Ant.
So much gets shipped up from Earth on commercial transports, it's hard to keep them out.
Yeah, I have just picked it up on the tip of my glove. If I put it down again, and it asks another ant, what was that? How would it explain? There are things in the universe billions of years older than either of our races. They are vast, timeless, and if they are aware of us at all, it is as little more than ants, and we have as much chance of communicating with them as an ant has with us. We know. We've tried. And we've learned that we can either stay out from underfoot or be stepped on.
That's it? That's all you know?
Yes. They are a mystery. And I am both terrified and reassured to know that there are still wonders in the universe, that we have not yet explained everything. Whatever they are, Miss Sakai, they walk near Sigma 957. And they must walk there alone.
At first I wondered, why did he say that he was both terrified and reassured? But the line resonated with me in this way. As I continue to do this project, and as I continue to work towards my own self-improvement, to becoming a better person, to becoming wiser, to becoming smarter, more in tune, grounded, and with humility, that journey, those moments, it's terrifying. It's terrifying to admit the things that I'm embarrassed about. It's terrifying to sit here actually and say, well, this is what I think, and these are all the, amazing things that I think about, and sometimes feel like I'm a hypocrite because I'm not quite there. But then I see the amazing things and I could talk about it. But there are parts to me that still wants to blow up Ragesh 3. And there are still parts of me that feels very much like I'm a child in some regards and haven't really come into my own to become very mature yet. There are still things I want to take credit for, even though other people may deserve more credit or all the credit. Those moments are all terrifying. To have a mirror held up to you and you look at it and you're like, oh my God. This is who I really am. This is what other people see. That's really not okay. But though, as Jakar says, he also feels reassured. I feel reassured. I think as long as I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable in a safe place, and in the safety of just knowing that this is for something greater in the end, right? That there's a level of reassurance there. That I'm not just simply doing this just to be a fool. I'm not just simply doing this and working towards becoming a better person and showing my vulnerability so I could stay the same. That it really is about a future and a dream of being someplace far better than where I am today. And that's how I understood his line.
How did you feel about what happened to Talia?
What happened to Talia was absolute rape. What happened to Talia was just absolute invasion of her own personal right, her basic right, which is her space, her body, her mind. You know, there's such a great sense of violence. No, great sense of violation when someone taps into your innermost thoughts, especially when you're not the one freely giving it to someone else. Your own inner thoughts are such a private place. It's a sacred place in so many ways. It's the only place that no one else can really ever touch unless you share that space with someone, and share those thoughts with someone and those feelings with someone, right? And she was violated. And that's no different from, I feel, a violation of any kind of right that people have where other people try to take over. I mean, we could get political here, but I don't really want this to be about politics so much. But I certainly just want to talk about the fact that we all have a right to our own bodies. We all have a right to our own minds. And if anyone threatens it, that's a huge violation of the very thing that belongs to us and only us alone.
Talia.
Jason.
I have become. In memory of love, I give you a gift. The only gift I have to give.
I'm going to admit, I understand love at a very intellectual level and not much on the emotional level, which is where I could say that I'm not in tune, or probably because I'm much more intellectually focused, or it's just not something that I've really quite learned yet. I'm getting there though. So Talia's relationship with Jason, and in the end he gives her a gift. And what does he say? He says,
in memory of love.
In memory of love. And he gives this gift to her, which is basically telekinetic powers, power that she didn't have before. But that's a symbolism of what love is supposed to do. Love is supposed to move you. Love changes you. Love makes you do greater and bigger things in life.
Elevates.
Love elevates you, but love also allows you to move pennies. That's the power of love. With love, there's strength, always. Love also makes people feel invincible. It makes them feel like they can do amazing things, pushes them forward. I mean, I don't know if you want to add this, but Kelsey's mouth was absolutely fascinating.
No, I do not want to add that. No.
I can't like not stop seeing it.
As well as your security and command personnel.
She's British.
I don't care if she's British.
She has to enunciate.
I can enunciate like this too. I am very surprised that I'm at episode 6. This is truly the last episode that I watched. I don't know anything about episode 7 at all. And Mind War was an episode that I watched because when I abandoned the B5 project back then, Elaine said to me, you know what, since you're not going to do the project anyway, why don't you just watch it? Maybe you'll just get something out of it just simply by watching it. This was that episode, and at the time I got nothing out of it. So I didn't go forward, and again, a part of me still was like, a part of me still didn't want to progress forward watching it without doing this project. So I didn't go forward. So I'm truly amazed that I actually still have things to say, and that each episode feels like it's giving me much more to think about than I thought about before, and that it is having this emotional impact on me. I'm actually happy to be doing this. I feel less restless these days because I have a project that's meaningful to me that I'm doing. And it makes me happy, actually. It's something that I look forward to doing. So thank you everyone for watching and going on this personal journey with me. I'm really surprised for people who actually listen to the whole thing. I don't even know what I talk about half the time. And I don't watch my own videos. I don't want it to ruin anything for me, only because I'm still not at a place where I can look at myself on video yet. Maybe one day I'll get there, but I don't think that that's so important for me. I'm sure my future self will appreciate it, to be able to look back and see how far I've come. That's something that I am looking forward to doing. After going through all of B5, or however many I actually commit to doing, that wherever that person is, that me is in the future, when I do look back on it, I'd like to see how far I've come. It'd be kind of like a time capsule. That will be very, very fascinating. So thank you everyone for watching and being interested in my videos. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.